Can't see no red light.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Corporate Underground. Another edition here. We've got the fabulous Adam Kramer back with us. Today we're going to talk about all things health. Both the health company, Adam's had a long career in health and cutting edge at the moment, working in genetics. But then also, what does that mean to him personally? What does he want to do with his life? There's quite a few biohacks and healthcare hacks he does. So Adam, over to you, mate. Let's talk things healthcare.
And your life. We want to know what you're going to do with your life. Your mum wants to know too.
Listen, I was hoping to figure that out in the next 20 minutes. Three geniuses.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Exactly.
I don't mention what we were discussing before, but we could do that, and maybe my life's purpose will just hit me like lightning.
I'm sure the four of us together could at least make one good life. If you combine all our positives.
All I know is out of the four, only one of us washes once a week. These are different clothes. I don't know what you guys are doing. We're wearing the same clothes from last week. That's disgusting. Unbelievable.
I changed. I had a jumper on, you idiot.
Don't go changing, Tony. We like you just the way you are.
Yeah, thank you, Ronan.
I'm like Jeff, what's his name? The Apple dude. I wear the same T-shirt every day.
The Apple dude.
The Apple dude. Jeff Beasley?
The guy from the fruit shop.
Yeah, that's
man.
So
the fruit
healthcare has been an interesting journey for me. I, as a kid, I probably always wanted to be a doctor. Probably wanted to play doctor
and nurses. Yeah.
But I played that a little bit, but I didn't have the I don't know how to say it in English, but the Sitzfleisch to sit down and study for all those years and sit and become a medical doctor. But I just always loved helping people. And early on in my career, obviously I came from South Africa as I was 19 years old, I think, when I moved to New York. So I was fresh off the boat, didn't know anyone. Start off as a waiter, and then
it must have been a long boat ride.
It's a long boat ride.
Yeah.
Long, better than the Oceania. The Oceania.
Don't go on that boat.
Don't go on that boat. And I worked in finance a little bit, and then one day I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He says, "Hey, I have a buddy starting an X-ray business. You should talk to him." And I went and I met them, and it wasn't really an X-ray. It was this latest technology in cancer imaging called PET scanning. And ultimately, I was the first employer at this company that was the first privately owned PET scan in New York. And then my passion came through. We built that up into quite a serious business over the years. I was there for like 17 or 18 years. And it was really innovative technology at the time that insurers, the government, doctors had their doubts and were like, what do we need this for? We already have whatever we're using. We have CAT scans, we have MRIs, we don't even need it. So it was that whole process of bringing this new technology to the forefront. And we went with all the iterations, and it's truly the gold standard now. And initially it was it's used for heart disease and brain diseases now, and it started off with one radioactive injection, and now they have come out with several different types of radioactive materials that get injected into you that can actually pick up on different types of cancers. There was like the overall initial imaging, which kind of sees all cancers, but now they've like gone even deeper and more specific to see specific cancers and how they're spreading, and just it's truly the gold standard. And through that, I went and we actually created the first radiopharmaceutical manufacturing facility in New York, which is a company that manufactures those injections, those isotopes, and helped put together a proton therapy center, which is a radiation treatment center for cancer. with all the large hospitals in New York, which is quite a feat. And now in Australia, it's pretty interesting that I landed up at a genetics company, and genetics happens to be the fastest growing area in healthcare right now. And I don't know, I'm not a geneticist and I'm very new to that whole world, but there's a lot of similarities. It's very new. A lot of doctors don't know it. They don't know how to use it. They don't understand it. And it's kind of taking what the current clinical models and utilities are and bolting on this new technology. So there's a lot of similarities, and it's something that I feel can have a huge impact on people. Just your genetics is yours. It's new. It's custom. It's individualized. It's you. It's not going to change. And it's really a type like the imaging I was involved with was like diagnostic, and it's like getting preventative in a way. This is even taking preventive medicine even deeper. So it's really getting before the event, then after the event medicine.
So Adam, you mentioned something around taking a new technology that everybody was against, the insurance, the hospital, the doctors, and it's come through to be the gold standard. With geneticism, you've just said that the same sort of things happening. When people are confused, they don't understand it, they don't know whether this is the best way to go at the moment. With things like Australia, we think we're quite forward-thinking. We take things on. There's been some great developments in Brisbane regarding rapid testing. There's been some great stuff that's happening out of your company in regards to working out pre-testing for COVID. We've got some great minds that have really come together, but it does seem that we won't release this information, or we won't use this information. You've come from America, where they seem to be a lot more future forward and taking an idea and making it happen. I mean, what are you seeing worldwide? Where are the hot spots for this sort of technology to come up, and when do you think this is really is it going to take another 20 years? Or is things like most things seem to be speeding up? Is it going to take us 20 years before this comes to fore, where people accept this?
So one of the one thing that I've realized is that we are, Australia is they've got a lot of medical innovation. They really do. There's a lot of, especially like in the genetic space, and oncology, also, but maybe not as much. But in the genetic space, there's a lot of innovation coming out of Australia, and in general, overall in the medical sphere. But I feel like the culture in America is a lot more. The people and the doctors are more early adopters, and they're willing to try and risk things a little bit more. And here, the government and the systems are very tightly run and in place and strict. So it kind of prohibits some of that kind of innovation and growth. So that's sort of why I see a lot of these technologies they might be invented here and come up with over here, and they're shipping them over to the US to really accelerate their growth and get it into real clinical models and practices, and then kind of maybe loop back to Australia. I can give another example. Just before I left, I was in discussions with another healthcare startup around musculoskeletal disease, like musculoskeletal neuro. It was started by a neurosurgeon, where they wanted to. He's a neurosurgeon, which is one of the most expensive surgeries, one of the worst surgeries to go through for a person. And he saw so many unnecessary surgeries that possibly could have been fixed had they had the right care initially, with a proper integrated model, like having physiotherapists and just care navigators and chiropractors and orthopedic surgeons and the neurosurgeon and probably others, all under one roof, all discussing and figuring out what's really the best path for this patient to avoid this crazy expensive surgery in the long run. And he referenced a small company in Australia that was doing something similar, that, which was very interesting, but they didn't have it in America. And today, A couple of weeks ago, they raised $50 million and they're going gangbusters and may have 300-400 people already working there. So he's taken something that was maybe a little bit of a seed here in Australia, and it still might be, and but he's taken it and it's been invested in and it's being adopted and it's being used. So it's an interesting dynamic. There's a lot of great minds in Australia. The education system is fantastic. There's a lot of good things coming, but I think I can't, I'm new, but I'm just that from my perspective, I feel like that is maybe the culture and the medical culture and the government, the socialized aspect of it puts a cramp on that startup growth.
Adam, and everything there's good and bad. I mean, you've been in South Africa and was raised there. You've been in New York and America. You're in Australia now, understanding the medical process between all of them. I look at the American, and this is from a very lame person watching movies, don't really understand. But I look at America and I go, the medical seems broken. It seems if you've got money, you're going to get amazing support. But if you're below a certain level, you're going to get killed through insurance and everything else. In Australia, everybody's pretty much, and in the UK, everybody's sort of got cover to a point, and it's better looked after. So we've got innovation here, which isn't going through, which it does in America. So there's pros and cons in everybody. What would it look like in your mind if there was a perfect solution running through? I mean, do you have an idea of what the best of America, the best of Africa, the best of Europe, the best of Australasia and Asia? What could it look like? Do you have any idea around that?
So it's interesting because my family lives in the UK, so I know a little bit about the UK system. It's not ideal. The South African system is sort of broken, but there is one part that's very innovative, which what they've done is what they did over there, which I think can be adopted everywhere, is they really took the wearables to the next level to encourage people, and they encouraged people and rewarded people based on good behaviors. So if you went to the gym 4 times a month or 5 times a month, they paid for your gym membership at a great gym, like the fans.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you logged 10,000 steps a day, you got to go to a movie on Tuesdays, 4 tickets to a movie or whatever it was. They really, because the infrastructure wasn't necessarily there, they really worked to help people stay healthy and reward them. And it's a huge program called Vitality. They hooked up with Apple. They gave Apple watches. So if you got it, they would give you an Apple Watch. And if you kept up with certain things and certain trackings, you didn't have to pay for the Apple Watch. That's amazing. And it really worked. Now, the US system is, everybody shits on it, which is fine. But it's also, you can't compare it to any other system. Australia is not even a baby finger. It's tiny. It's a massive system. It is broken. It does cost a lot, but they pay for a lot of the innovation that goes for the rest of the world. They fit the bill for all these. The Americans are paying for the COVID vaccine. Australians aren't paying for it. The Indians aren't paying for it. The South Africans aren't paying for it. Americans are paying for the COVID vaccine that's being delivered for free. But the other thing is, that's a bit of a misconception. Even if you have no money, yes, there are people that are going to get screwed, and it's not a perfect system, but you do get taken care of if you're sick. If you're really sick in America, God forbid you have cancer. I saw many patients. I had a contract with the government. I saw prisoners. I had people from the Upper East Side of millionaires coming into my office, and I had prisoners coming to my office, and the government paid. So, you might not have insurance, and and it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, but people do get taken care of. The perfect system, I believe, would have to be some combination of wearables, like prevention. So wearables, genetics, I feel like is going to play a big part. Genetics is growing 3 times faster than Moore's law. which is very fast. Tony will know for sure what that means.
Doubling of computer chips every 18 months or 2 years. Yeah.
So it's growing 3 times faster than that. We've only just hit the tip of the iceberg. So I think genetics is going to play a big role. And
should we call that Kramers Law?
Kramers
Law? How does that sound?
It's a very famous crime.
Yeah, you're going to keep saying it. It's Kramers Law. You've heard of Moore's Law. This is Kramers Law.
We've all got Seinfeld's Law.
That's my dad.
Just because we're running out of time, I had a question I wanted to just run past Adam. Like, yeah, we talk about, because Australia does come up with a lot of ideas that seem to be more popular there. Do you think the reason there's so much red tape in Australia and why we don't have doctors that are more agile is because it's not paid for out of the pocket of the person? Like, it's more of like, I go to a GP or whatever. It's like, do you get, because we don't pay for our healthcare out of our pocket, it comes out of our taxes and Medicare, that's why it's so much red tape with getting things like to become adopted here by our health professionals?
I think that it probably has a big part to play, because a lot of the doctors here are also employed by the government, I think. So there's, that competitiveness in the US. There's, you've got competition is healthy, I think. It makes people do better, more efficiently, and more cost effectively. Generally, that's really what competition does. Healthy competition. So the fact that there is a lot of competition in the US, and people are, because patients are paying, they want to make those choices, and they want to get that service. They want to go to a doctor and get seen right away and get what they want and get the answers they want. They don't want to have to wait. They don't want to have to go through certain things, which means that if the doctors aren't offering it, they can go next door to another doctor and get it. So from both sides, I think it's the patients, they're paying and they want money, they want value in return. And from the doctor's perspective, there is that competitive thing that the patients can pick up and go wherever they want as well. So I think that definitely has a part to play. Healthy competition I'll give you a quick story about competition. When we started our pet scanning business, we were partners with NYU, and then quickly, a year and a half later, NYU decided to get their own machines, and that was a big part of our business. Was this, we had NYU doctors were reading our scans, but we also saw their patients, and they said, "We're done," and we were worried, honestly. But what happened was, it was the biggest blessing in disguise. We got our own radiologists that were super qualified, and our business shot up. We focused on service. We focused on what we did well, and our business grew. Even though there was competition, it actually grew. So I think that the capitalist part of healthcare in the US probably is a huge factor in the adoption of innovation.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because there's even they lean away from natural health is because it's not covered. So it's kind of like, let's just go after what's free. You know what I mean? There's that mentality of what's free and what's not. Where in America, it's well, it'll cost, I don't know, I have no idea, but I'm assuming $500 for this medical thing, where natural health might only be $100, but here $100 versus free seems extreme. So I just find that interesting.
Adam, I've got one more question before we've got to wind up, and it's about what you do, and if we can keep it short to the point. But one of the things that your company does a test for COVID. So what it enables, I believe, it to do is, if I've got an allergy to peanuts, it would test me and everybody around me, and it would say, right, you can't eat peanuts. If you eat peanuts, you will die. Is that what your test does with COVID? It tells me genetically if I have a high likely to need a respirator, or I'm going to get taken to hospital, where if I caught COVID, I'd be fine, But if Tony caught it, he'd need a respirator. So we need to really protect him and make sure that he gets the first injections. Is that what your genetic testing does?
Exactly what our test does. It stratifies your risk of landing up in hospital with severe disease. So that's what it does. So in other words, it can help with vaccine prioritization, which even nurses or doctors or frontline workers who should get vaccinated first, who really needs it. And you can help with getting back to work. We're all locked up for 10% of the population, not even 10% of the population, but the 0.00% that actually do land up in hospital of the population. The whole economy is shut down. If you test everybody, you can actually see who has a likelihood of landing up in hospital, and you make those people locked down. You make those people take the vaccine, and everybody else can get back to work and renew life. But yes, that is what
that would have been lovely.
Yeah. Two follow-up questions, very, very quickly. If you can answer them, understand. But one, how quickly can your test be done? And two, roughly, what would the cost be per person to do a test on this?
So the test takes about 2 weeks or so to get the results. It is fully approved and accredited in the US, but not yet in Australia. So it would need TGA approval. I'm not sure if it needs some kind of approval in Australia, but it takes 2 weeks to get it done, and it would probably cost around $125.
So we'd charge about $350 at the moment to do a basic test, but we could get one for a third of the price to be able to work out whether moving forward you're safe or you're not safe. Yeah. And obviously, if the scale came up, you'd be able to get that down, like the rapid testing that they're doing now to Brisbane, or the Brisbane company that is selling it overseas.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, thanks, Adam. Yeah. Really, really interesting. Thank you so much. You guys got any follow-up points?
No,
I went way over time, so I don't want to ask it.
Yeah. I just want to thank Adam for coming on again and just telling us a little bit more about kind of his medical career background, and how what I took from there from both the previous episodes you're on is that you found both your ideal jobs through people that know you. They weren't advertised. You didn't apply for them with a CV per se. People just said, I know Adam, let me introduce you to this person. So thanks again for just sharing your experience on genetics and where it's going, and the Kramer Law. We've got it now. Kramer Law. So it's growing faster than the Kramer Law.
You've got to get a patent player on this.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as his sex life doesn't rate at the same, you'll be fine, won't you? Did we find out for your mum what you're going to be in your life now? Because we started out going, Roden's question was, what do you want to be when you grow up, basically? Did you find that out?
I want to be
Thanks, Peter. See you next week.
Thanks,
guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam. Bye, everybody.